Alright, so I'm going to do a reading update. If you hear any noises in the background, it's because my cat's here with me. She was screaming as soon as I closed the door, so she's here now. So I read a few books. The first one I started in December and I finished in January. It's N0S4A2 by Joe Hill. This is a reread for me. I love this book so much, and on the reread it was just as good as I remembered. I was able to pay more attention to the little details that I kind of whipped through on my first read, because the first read was really exciting. You know, it was really fast paced. There were some things I missed out on, and so it was nice to go through it a second time a little slower. She almost knocked the tripod over. I liked how this book questions sanity and, you know, what's real, what's not, and it really focuses behind the scenes on some values like love, trust, family, honesty, all that sort of thing. So again, it was a really great read. Highly recommend it. If you don't know what it's about, it is a horror novel where this guy imagines this place called Christmasland, and that's where he kidnaps children to. And that's all I'll say on that. The next book I don't have with me because I took it out of the library and I wasn't thinking I returned it, but it is Malorie. This is the sequel to Bird Box. So this takes place 10 years later, and now Malorie and her crew are all grown up, and a new set of issues come about. This one I gave 3 out of 5 because I was not satisfied with the ending. I had all these questions from Bird Box, and I was hoping some of them would be answered in this one, and none of them were. It is one that it was similar to Bird Box, except there was a bit more focus on the things that, you know, we take for granted that are normal are scary in that world, like looking around. On top of that, we have the added element of like teenager angst. You know, they don't want to listen to Malorie, and it's like, oh, you know, roll your eyes kind of situation, but it's all they know. So, of course, you know, they have those feelings. It was more about the journey, not the end. And I felt like there were some scenes that were a little bit too convenient. You know, we have some rules set in place from the events of the first book. Things that are, you know, you can't deny it. And the second book, some of that just kind of goes away. It's like, well, what changed? We don't know. So I didn't like that part. Yeah, she didn't either. Okay, so then the next one I read is Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. Now this one, I haven't read any Octavia Butler before. Apparently this is the last book she wrote, and it's a vampire one. So I was like, okay, let's give some sci-fi vampire a try that's not young adult. Ugh, okay. This felt more like an introduction, and it kind of read a bit like a social studies book. Our main character wakes up, she's the vampire, and she doesn't remember who she is or anything, so she has to figure out, like, where'd I come from, what's my name, that sort of thing. Some stuff, when she gets exposed to things, she gets a little triggers, like reminders, like, oh yeah, I know how to do this, I know how to read. I don't know how I know, but I know how to do it. So we explore with her as she uncovers who she is and who her family is, what her vampire culture is, and meanwhile there's some events happening, so there's a threat. So she tries to deal with that too. But the way the book is set up is that there's some uncomfortable situations, I guess you could say, premises, you know, like borderline pedophilia, and it just kind of glosses over that. And then it was a lot of trying to figure out who the threat is, and then once they figure it out, how to deal with them. And it's like, it was boring. By the time it ended, I felt like, okay, the introduction's over, like, where's the story? It was just getting started and then it ended. So it didn't make much sense to me. So for this one, I gave it 3 out of 5. It was a way too short. It had some uncomfortable moments, but all in all, kind of a boring read that really should have been like that thick. And then the last one I read was actually the lowest rated one on the list. It's House by P.J. Vernon, another library book here. This is like a mystery thriller, and the premise of this one is that there's these gay guys and they're not in the greatest relationship, so while one's out of town, the other one decides to cheat on his boyfriend, but it doesn't go as planned. It's actually a little traumatic for him, but obviously he can't admit, or he doesn't feel like he can admit to his boyfriend that he cheated on him and something bad happened, so he tells a lie. One lie turns into another lie, and he can't just put the situation behind him because it's following him everywhere he goes. Oh man, I read this in one evening. I read it, I was sitting on the bed next to my boyfriend, and I would read a little bit and tell him what's going on, and like, man, I hate everybody in this book. It is like full of toxic relationships and just really bad people. Now, there's no homophobia here at all. If you take that completely out of the equation, they're still all really bad people. They all lie to each other. They're very dishonest, sneaky, manipulative, power hungry. It's like, this is not a crowd that I would want to hang out with. Lots of reviews said that the book was super juicy and it had great prose. I did not find that at all. There was, I thought the writing was just okay. It didn't stand out to me. And it was not like a real hot and heavy romance or anything like that. It was just, stupid people trying not to get caught doing stupid things. What else do I have with my notes on this? It tried to be shocking by adding elements of, there's a gay relationship, there's some choking, there's paranoia, that sort of thing. Everyone acted like teenagers out of control. Like, it did not feel like it was a story about adults, especially when Nathan, one of the guys in the relationship, is Nathan's the older one, Oliver's the younger one. Nathan is 10 years older and he's like a doctor, so he should be mature. And then Oliver, the younger one, he's like an ex-druggie, and he's the one that decides to go to the bathhouse and try to cheat on Nathan. And it's like, no one can trust anyone. Everyone's always suspicious of everyone. It's a bad situation to be with. They should all just split up, go make new friends, have a new life. I didn't like it. But what I did like was that the twist at the end was actually a little bit unexpected. I had my thoughts on what was going on, and what was revealed was different, and it tied into the story. So I was like, okay, I was satisfied with that. That's why it was 2 stars, not 1 star. But yeah, that's kind of where my reading's at the moment. Right now I'm reading a sci-fi. It's Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and it's really good so far. So I just wanted to give a quick update on what I've read, and yeah, let me know in the comments below what you have read, and I hope you guys have a great January.